Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I am Dr. Brittany Todd, and a new study just came out from the Cleveland Clinic about the influenza vaccine and efficacy in the 2024-2025 season. Now, it hasn't been printed or published yet. It is in preprint, which means it has not been peer-reviewed, but I did review it. You can find it online, and it does actually look pretty compelling. What's interesting is it is a negative study, meaning that it shows that getting the influenza vaccine increased your risk of flu this season. So, how did this study happen? So, they looked at people from October 1st, 2024 through March 26th, 2025, which is a flu season, right? October through end of March is when flu typically rises. And they looked at 53,000 employees of the Cleveland Clinic. 43,000 of them or so were vaccinated with the influenza vaccine, and the other 10,000 were not. And they looked simply at incidence of flu. Who got the flu? Who didn't get the flu? And what they found is the people who were vaccinated had a higher incidence of flu than those who were unvaccinated by 27%. It was a pretty decent number, and it was statistically significant. They can, crunch numbers and decide, was this statistically important or was it not? And it was a statistically significant difference. 27% increase in the flu if you were vaccinated. Now, I want to say that it did not look at mortality or hospitalization or how severe the flu was. It simply just said, did you have the flu? Did you not have the flu? If you were vaccinated, you were more likely to get the flu. It didn't say anything about hospitalization or death. And we know that people will say, oh, the flu vaccine, if you do get the flu, makes it so it's less severe, right? Less risk of going to the hospital, lower risk of death. But this study didn't even delve into that. It simply looked at, did you get the flu? Did you not get the flu? It also looked at different baseline characteristics, like was there a difference in sex? Was there a difference in where you worked in the Cleveland Clinic? Were you up on the floor in a hospital or were you working in an office by yourself somewhere? It didn't matter. The vaccinated were at a higher risk of the flu. So that was super interesting. The other things they were looking at were they thought, well, maybe the people who weren't vaccinated were not getting tested for the flu. And they looked into that and they found, no, it's not that they weren't getting tested. They were just, less, they were getting the flu less than the vaccinated. So at first they thought, oh, these vaccinated people are just testing more often. That's not the case. They were all testing. It's just the vaccinated were getting sick more often. So that's what came up in this trial. So it was a statistically significant negative impact of the flu vaccine this year. And I know the flu vaccine is interesting because we actually change it every year depending on what is in the world leading up to us getting our flu season. So we look at the Eastern countries, Asia, Australia, to see what do they have, and then we kind of guess what we're going to get. And apparently we totally missed the mark this year on the influenza vaccine. So talking about the influenza vaccine and how this was a negative trial showing that it increased your risk of getting the flu, these vaccines are for the most part pretty benign, but they're not risk-free, right? No medicine ever is risk-free. And if someone's telling you that, they're trying to sell you something, right? And this is actually one reason why we chose not to vaccinate our children anymore and our family, especially for the flu. Flu is one of the last vaccine dominoes to fall for me because I thought, oh, it's pretty benign. You can get the flu shot. It's an inactive flu virus, but they found that people who get the influenza vaccine may have a lower risk of flu and lower severity and lower mortality of flu, but it actually increased your risk of other respiratory illnesses. So like the common cold or pneumonia, upper or lower respiratory tract infections. So it may prevent flu, but it's not preventing the other things that can also harm you, and it actually increases the risk. And now we have this study that is showing that it still increases your risk even if you get the flu shot. So now you're risking putting something in your body that's not even working in this study. So it is in preprint. It hasn't been peer reviewed, and I do question whether or not it's ever going to be published. It looks like a great study. They had good methodology. It was very simply written. It was IRB approved. I just wonder if it's not going to match their agenda, are they going to allow it to be published? So we do have what's called publication bias. And a lot of peer reviewers may look at this and go, I'm not touching that with a 25-foot pole, right? I don't want anything to do with a negative study on vaccines. So I do hope they publish it, because obviously truth matters and fairness in medicine is what gets us progressing and not regressing in medicine. But I am curious if they're ever going to publish it. So I do think it was a really good study. I can give you the name of it. It's called Effectiveness of the Influenza Vaccine During the 2024 to 2025 Respiratory Viral Season. It just came out, and you can't find it on PubMed yet because it hasn't been published. So you just have to Google it or DuckDuckGo it or whatever your search engine is, and it will pull up the study right away. So it looks good. And it's just showing that the flu shot missed the mark this year. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, I do a lot of videos on vaccine information. So like, subscribe, share, and stay healthy.